Hello, this is my Unit 7 Assessment 1 presentation. Movement and language. Movement as a language. Dance and language. Is dance a language? And so on and so on and so on. As you can see, I haven't really got a title yet, but these are some preliminary ideas just to put out there. My inspiration for this project initially came from a BSL introduction course that I did through my work at the Royal Opera House last year. I have worked at the ROH for the past 2 years now. Over my time there, I've been lucky enough to get training and experience in the accessibility provisions needed to make everyone's visit, from booking to viewing the performance and moving around the building, as comfortable and successful as possible. I was delighted to be chosen for a place on the BSL introduction course for several reasons. Firstly, it's a passion of mine to find new ways in which the arts can be accessible to a wider proportion of people, whether the exclusions come from access-based accommodations not being met or from a wider social economical barrier. Secondly, a little closer to home, my not-so-little younger brother is hard of hearing. Having learnt some of the basics of sign language over the years, I've always been interested in delving in further, as he himself is now at university and getting the opportunity to learn BSL as well as explore the deaf community, both opportunities that were not available in the rural Cumbrian town we grew up in. This seemed like the perfect time for the introductory course to come along. The course was run by Enhance the UK, a user-led charity aiming to change the way people view disability, which is often involves removing the fear factor that's surrounded by the subject. They support businesses to be more inclusive, providing disability awareness training, British Sign Language workshops, and accessibility audits, among other things. I have also attached a link to their welcome page of their website in case you want to have a look for yourself also, so it's there for future referencing, and you'll be able to access that from the PowerPoint version of this video. As stated on the slide, BSL is a movement-based language. Throughout secondary school, I of course learned French and German. Learning foreign languages has never been something that comes naturally to me despite my interest in them. I found when learning BSL, coming from a movement-based background to begin with, really seemed to provide a different perspective to learning this language. With my brain already quite comfortable in movement mode, picking up vocabulary, word order, and grammatic rules seemed to be coming a little bit more naturally. We spend almost every dance class at the place, picking up movement, remembering, refining, practicing, and then showing phrases and exercises. Learning BSL didn't feel a whole lot different to me. As you can see on the screen, you're currently looking at the BSL alphabet. It's one of the very first things that I learned in BSL as a child, and a refresher in the first section of the introduction course was, of course, very welcomed. Once you know the alphabet, you can communicate pretty much anything in BSL. If there's a sign you don't know, you can simply spell it out. In my mind, these foundation positions and movements are not so far from the set positions of the arms and feet in ballet. Again, one of the very first things you learn in ballet class are these set positions. As your education continues and you progress to more complicated combinations, it's always through these simple positions and pathways that the technique is centred. I think it's very important to note at this point that I am just a beginner when it comes to BSL. I am not fluent and I am not professing to be an expert on the topic at all. At the moment, due to the focus of the course, I'm absolutely fine to have a conversation about ballet and opera, as well as answer a range of frequently asked questions of visitors of the Royal Opera House. That's about as far as my current knowledge goes. Whilst the plan is to continue studying BSL Level 1 and 2 with the help of the ROH after graduating LCDS, It's simply the experience that I had on this introduction course that sparked a further interest in looking at movement and dance in conjunction to language. Right, so you've heard a little bit about my inspiration to the direction of this project. Now it's time to delve a little bit deeper, probably starting with what is a language? The trusty Oxford English Dictionary has provided me with the following definition, as seen on the screen. The principal method of human communication consisting of words used in a structured and conventional way and conveyed by speech, writing, or gesture. Effectively, language is the medium by which we're able to communicate with each other, whether that be in spoken conversation, by reading, writing, or through visual cues and actions performed by the body. On screen now are some of the surface level similarities I've found between contemporary dance and language, and they are listed just above. As a dancer, I have a movement vocabulary made up of a bank of taught and found movements that I've learned over the years. In the same way that spoken language is made up of smaller units of vocabulary, e.g., words, so is dance. Movement taught in dance classes is often split into phrases, a series of movements that are performed one after the other to create a cohesive exercise. Phrase, as I'm sure you already know, is a common term in language meaning a collection of words to form a conceptual unit. Both contemporary dance and language makes use of phrases to link smaller vocabulary units into a longer, structured and arguably cohesive series. Leading on from this, structure is a key feature of both dance and language, whether that be sentence structure and word order or the typical structure of a contemporary dance class. Started with a warm-up, pliés, tendus and other static exercises, and moving on to travelling and jumping as the class progresses. Structure in language is often used to aid comprehension and build tension. The structure of a dance class can be used to minimise the chance of injury and prepare the body for the intensity of movement to come. Accents and emphasis are used in spoken language to aid pronunciation and give context and importance to particular words. Movement too can be emphasised by a dancer, allowing the mover to choose where to play with dynamic qualities in order to create a sense of increased visual or contextual focus. A dialect is a subgenre / a form of language that's specific to an area or social group. Whilst both under the umbrella term of the English language, a sentence with the same meaning can be said very differently by someone from London when compared with someone from Cumbria. This is more clear in the example, the answer to the question, is it raining? Someone from London might say no it isn't, and someone from Cumbria may say, is it what? In contemporary dance, I believe that you could view the techniques of Cunningham and Release as dialects of sorts. They're both subgenres of the greater contemporary dance language, but have specific features that make them clearly distinguishable from one another. The precise curves, tilts and arm lines in Cunningham, compared to the more fluid and relaxed shapes that can be seen in Release, are immediately recognisable as different interpretations of the same style of movement language. Here is a quick list of sources that I've been using to research the idea that movement is a language. The PowerPoint I've attached to my submission will also have these if you want to access them from there. Enough of the surface similarities between dance and language. Something that I'm very interested in looking further into in this project is body language, the non-verbal side of communication. An article by Mind Tools suggests that up to 93% of information is communicated through non-verbal cues. Based on the 1967 study by Albert Mehabain, the Mehabain communication model was formed. It indicates that in communication based on emotions and attitudes, the information transferred by each element is as shown. With so much information expressed through our bodies rather than our voice alone, this could be an interesting route to explore further into this assignment. It's also worth noting that there's extensive research into how neurodiversity can affect communication. I've attached 3 articles on the screen that I've been looking at that discuss individual experiences of neurodiversity and communication with a specific reference to body language. In terms of what I think the outcome of my project will look like, I'm currently working along the lines of producing a visual product. I'm thinking of a film-based installation with an element of our audience participation or feedback. For this topic, I feel like having a visual project is very important as I'm focusing on the communication abilities of the body, which in turn relies on visual contact. At the moment, though, it is a little bit of a scramble and I do need to get my ideas a bit more streamlined into a clear action plan. I'd really appreciate your feedback and guidance. I am aware it is a little bit all over the place, and thank you for listening.